Hi, my name is Lara Pinheiro. I'm a PhD student here at the Institute of Oceanography at FURG, and I was awarded a 6-month scholarship for a joint doctorate abroad at the University of Exeter in the United Kingdom. So my project title was Impact of Plastic Contamination in Salt Marsh Environment and its interaction with metal contaminants. So this project was idealized by me and my two supervisors here in Brazil. So Dr. Lara Pinheiro, she's a professor here at the Institute of Oceanography, and by my co-supervisor, Dr. Vanessa Agostini. So while in the UK, I had also two supervisors, so there they call it the first and the second supervisors. And my first supervisor was Dr. Professor Tamara Galloway, and my second supervisor was Professor Carrie Lewis. So they are two of the most adorable human beings on earth, and they also are two of the best references when it comes to marine pollution and ecotoxicology. So the University of Exeter is also a great reference in marine research, so that was one of the reasons I chose that specific university. The other reason was, and probably the main reason, it was because I already knew Professor Tamara. So back in 2014-15, I spent a whole year at the University of Exeter during my final year as an undergraduate student. So this was when I was granted a 12-month scholarship from the Science Without Borders program, the Brazilian program. And basically, I enrolled one of Tamara's courses, which was ecotoxicology, and I failed it. But surprisingly, I went to knock on her door, on her office door, asking if I could be an intern in her lab, and she said yes. So I stayed there for 3 months before coming back to Brazil, and that was when I started working with plastic pollution. So as you can see, those 3 months were decisive for my academic life, and now I still keep working on trying to contribute to plastic science. I stayed in touch with Tamara for all that time, and she was happy to have me back, so that part was pretty easy. So about the English proficiency test, I believe my situation was a bit unusual from most applicants. So I had done an IELTS test in 2017 when I applied for the full PhD abroad. So the important thing here was that I had to take a test that was accepted by both CNPq or CAPES and the University of Exeter. So I had to check whether I could take a TOEFL or IELTS test or any other tests that was accepted by both systems, both application systems. So at that time, the UK was not accepting all tests available. So I had to take one that was accepted. So IELTS was a good choice for me, as it seemed widely accepted. And so I was also thinking of a plan B. So that was a good option. I did not go to the full PhD abroad, but I was able to use that same IELTS test when I applied for the joint PhD scholarship in 2019. So I could use the same test as it was only been 2 years before. So that's the normal time limit for an English proficiency test to be accepted, not only for Brazilian institutions, but also UK institutions. So your test can be no older than 2 years old. It was okay, I got the scholarship, all seemed fine, but then at some point I was informed by the University of Exeter that I needed a new test because mine was too old. So I had taken the test in July 2017, and I was supposed to go to the UK in December 2019, so 2 years and 5 months after my IELTS. So after a while, a little panicking and a few emails, Tamara wrote this glorious email to the university where she firmly stated that my English was good, as she knew me before, and that all was just bureaucracy. So they accepted it. So before going to the UK, the application process here with CAPIS was actually quite simple and faster than I thought it would be. So I think I applied at some point in June 2019, and I had everything sorted out by November the same year. So I was ready to go to the UK by December. And all the important dates were well established in the application edit. So after all approved candidates were determined, we had access to a direct line with CAPIS, which was very important and useful during the entire time here in Brazil and abroad as well. The thing is, I had all the documents I needed before the first application step. I had the approval from my supervisor in the UK, I had the proficiency test, and so it can get quite tricky for someone who doesn't have all these prepared before the application begins, as it can take a little while. And so some supervisors can be quite busy and not reply to us right away, or the dates for the proficiency test can be quite limited. So my advice for anyone trying to get any type of funding is check in advance what you need to apply. So this is a key thing to do. And after the approval by CAPIS, they also ask for a bunch of documents and forms to be completed. So that's should not be difficult to get once you have contacted your supervisor and the host institution abroad. And then at some point you'll need a visa, at least for the UK, you need a visa. So that process was the most difficult for me. First of all types of UK visas require an application fee, which vary from type to type. So for a short-term stay visa, I paid, I guess, $131, and I had to travel to one of the 3 application centers here in Brazil. So I went to São Paulo because it was closer. So these costs are not covered by CAPIS or the UK institution, so I had to count on my family support on that. So overall, the funding provided by CAPIS is sufficient to live in the UK, but you'll need money of your own before that. So also, it can take ages for you to gather all information they ask during the application process for the visa. They ask about your entire life, basically. So, I mean, they ask if you have committed any crimes, if you've had a traffic fine, if you were or is involved with any terrorist organization, or even if your work can be used in any way to make weapons of any kind. So, and that was before the pandemic, so I can only imagine what they are asking for applicants now. So that can be quite tricky, but it worked out fine. If you have all the documents and you respond to everything they ask, it should be fine. Your visa should get approved. I found the working days at the university quite amazing. I had a desk of my own and a university computer with 2 screens, and I had access to all the IT facilities. So I had my university account at the lab computer, and I could use that same login at home and access the university system to work remotely at home. So that was absolutely handy when the pandemic came. I was also designated my own lab coat, my own lab bench space. And so to enter each room or level at the university, anyone needs to be authorized. So we had a card that my card could get me in my lab where I was working, at the office where I was working, the common areas where we would have lunch, and that was it. I could not enter any of the other labs unless someone authorized me. Also, the working hours were from 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. So if anyone wanted to come early or stay late, the card would still work, but they had to swipe it and then put in a PIN, so a password of 4 digits, I guess. And only postgraduate students had, in professors, they had this password. So if people also wanted to stay in the evening, they had to sign a book at the exit with the time they got in and the time they got out. So everything was super controlled. So after the training and the authorizations, I could finally be part of a pilot experiment where I exposed marine worms to different types of microplastics. So that was a pilot experiment. So after that, I would learn how to process the worms and analyze them. But then the COVID-19 arrived in Exeter, so the university was shut down. No one was allowed in except essential workers that would keep the animals alive at the aquarium. And this was in March 2020, so I spent nearly 3 months at home, in home office system before coming back to Brazil. So it was very frustrating, but at the same time, the lab group was very supportive. So we would have lab meetings at least twice a week, so one for work and one for drinks. And the university was very concerned about our mental health, our well-being while locked up at home. I was very lucky to be at a nice, comfortable house with a big garden that I could work in. And I had the company of the best landlady ever, Frances, and her 3 doggies, Rosie, Snoopy and Coco. So I miss them very much. After all these frustrations of being away from home during pandemic times and not being able to work and do the things I had planned to do, I still think of the time I spent abroad as a great experience. I had the opportunity to work closely with some of the people I only knew before in citations, and I got to meet very nice and kind people. I managed to complete at least part of my analysis, and that will allow me to publish a very exciting piece of research in the near future. As a life experience, I have always enjoyed the feeling of getting to know a new place, new city, new cultures, new people. So that was very exciting for me. Of course, there's always the sad part of having to say goodbye to friends you've made, but I'm kind of used to that now. And there is also the huge benefit of consolidating a cooperation between research groups, as now me and my Brazilian supervisors have one published paper with Tamara, and there is at least 2 more to come. So at the moment, I'm on my final year as a PhD candidate. I have 2 published papers from my thesis so far. I have 2 more to write up, and about the analysis I've done in the UK. And I'm also conducting a final experiment, which is going well. Part of my project had to be cut out due to the pandemic, but I already have all the requirements in terms of publications and credits from my course at FURG. So I expect to finish my PhD next year. I'm also starting to look at what to do next. So I'm looking at postdocs and research positions here and abroad. So Tamara is still open to have me back. So we will look into funding opportunities for me to keep working with her group. So that was it. I would like to thank everyone watching. Thank you for your attention. I hope this was clear and maybe useful for anyone watching. I'm now open to any questions and feel free to contact me in any of these contact details. Thank you.